Hey guys, you may remember last week when I told you that the USDA still had not rolled out guidance about when the SNAP work requirements and other changes were supposed to take effect. Now, shortly after we released that video, they did actually release a memo that outlines when the SNAP work requirements are supposed to take effect, how that implementation is supposed to happen, and so on. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. We're going to be going over all of the timelines that were included in that new guidance on September 4th. And these are also going to include changes to the EBT benefit calculations and things like that as well. But before we dive into those details, please remember that if you are dual eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid, you can call Chapter today to make sure that you are on the very best Medicare plan for you. This 5-star rated service is available now to assist you if you are dual eligible, and you can reach out to them at the number that you see there on screen. Now, in terms of what's going on with SNAP, first, that law put in some restrictions for the Thrifty Food Plan reevaluation. This may sound like something technical that maybe you don't necessarily care about, but this can have a big impact on how much you get in SNAP benefits. When the Thrifty Food Plan was revised in 2021, everybody got about a 20% boost, and the new rules that were passed basically said that that cannot happen again. They said that the Thrifty Food Plan will be adjusted by CPIU every October. That's going to be your COLA increase. And they also said that it can't be reevaluated to increase its costs. The Thrifty Food Plan is essentially a grocery list of food items that could feed a family of 4. And the government in 2021 said, that list is pretty out of date. That doesn't reflect how people eat nowadays. Let's adjust that. They adjusted it. Everybody saw about a 20% boost. The new administration under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act has made it so that that sort of reevaluation cannot happen again. They're not allowed to change what's in the cart if it has to stay cost neutral and only change by the cost of inflation. Under the new law, the market basket can't be reevaluated until at least October 1st of 2027. And even then, to my understanding, it's not allowed to increase the cost. So there's not really a lot of point in that anyway. Now, we've also talked extensively about the changes to the utility rules. We did a video on this recently, so I'm not going to dive into this in detail for you here today. But basically, these rules are in effect now regarding how the utility bills are treated. So if you're not sure about those changes, I would encourage you to hop back to the video that we put out last week that has more information on that. Now, I know everyone's really concerned about those SNAP work requirements, and the last time I updated you, I said that a lot of states were waiting for further guidance. Well, that further guidance has come out. So those work requirements essentially are going into effect now, and they are supposed to be applied either immediately or at the next recertification. So at the point where your paperwork needs to be renewed, that is most likely when you're going to see these changes start to affect you. It may happen sooner. Now, just to quickly recap what those work requirements are, they apply to adults older than 18 and younger than 65. The exception for care of a dependent child has been limited to those with a child under the age of 14. They have removed the exceptions for homeless veterans and those who have aged out of foster care. They have created new exceptions, and this is verbatim. I know last time I did a video on this topic, we received some unhappy comments for my use of the word Indian here. I am quoting this from the law. This is a legal definition in the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act. So this is not me choosing my words. They said that there are new exceptions for Indian, urban Indian, and Californian Indian as defined in that Improvement Act. Now, a lot of times in the past, states have just gone out and said, okay, well, we're going to apply for a waiver from the work requirements, so we don't have to do this in our state. That's not going to be as easy to do anymore. Most states can only get a waiver if the unemployment in their area is at or above 10%. Alaska and Hawaii have a little bit more flexibility. They can get a waiver if their unemployment rate is over 150% of the national average, which would be 1.5 times the national average. Now, I found this blurb really interesting. This is a verbatim quote here. It says, "It removes the criterion that provides for waiver requests when an area does not have a sufficient number of jobs to provide employment for the individuals that reside there from the list of circumstances qualifying an area for a waiver of the time limit." So basically, even if there aren't enough jobs in your area, it looks like you are still going to be stuck trying to meet that work requirement, which is obviously going to make life hard for a lot of people. Now, they also are going to be moving toward making states share the cost of SNAP, and that is unprecedented, and it is going to be very difficult for states to do. So basically, this is meant to keep their error rates low. If they have an error rate below 6%, they don't have to worry about matching any funds. They're going to be fine. The federal government's going to continue fronting that money. As the error rate increases, they could end up paying up to a 15% match, which could be very burdensome for some states. And those requirements are supposed to begin in 2028. Other changes include reducing the amount paid for administrative costs starting in 2027 and the ending of the SNAP Ed program, which is basically in effect now, but states have been told that they can use the funding they currently have for the next fiscal year if they want to continue those. Now, to clarify the timeline for the work requirements, the memo said, quote, "These changes were effective upon enactment. State agencies must apply updated exceptions to new and ongoing participants after they are screened. FNS will follow up with state agencies currently operating waivers of the time limit that are no longer eligible under the revised program rules." So basically, any new applicants are dealing with these new requirements right now. When your paperwork is due for renewal, you will have to deal with them too. Alaska and Hawaii will have more flexibility. I'm not sure why the slide says Florida, that should be Hawaii, but those states can get exceptions if the state requests and is demonstrating a good faith effort to comply with the time limits and work requirements. But even those exceptions only go until December 31st of 2028. So just to recap this timeline, as of right now, the utility changes are in effect. The internet doesn't count towards your shelter costs anymore. And those new work rules are going into effect now, or it's your next recertification, depending on how your state is handling this. Every October, you will continue to see those COLA increases as the Thrifty Food Plan is adjusted by the CPIU index. Starting in fiscal year 2027, they are going to implement those administrative rate changes. And after that point, the Thrifty Food Plan could theoretically be reevaluated, but it's not really clear what the point of that would be. And then starting in fiscal year 2028, states are going to have to start sharing the burden of that cost sharing with the federal government. So we are expecting more changes to be released, especially on the alien SNAP eligibility rules, things like that they've specified on their website, that guidance will be forthcoming. And of course, we'll continue to update you as we see more news roll out about this and other topics. So make sure you're subscribed to our channel. And don't forget to give our sponsor Chapter a call if you have any questions about your Medicare coverage. I will see you again tomorrow with more ways that you can save money and get free stuff.